card. It's got a lot going on, but I just think it's beautiful. We're going to do a emboss resist technique to get these this background. So let's get started. For the card base, I'm using a 5.5 by 8.5 by 5.5 piece of cardstock folded in half, and the color on this cardstock is, I can't believe my mind has just gone completely blank. I'm going to put my glasses on because that would help as well. Soft Seafoam. We're going to use the Soft Seafoam ink and a brayer. And we're going to need some Versamark. First of all, let's talk about the stamp set I'm using. I'm using this Rooted in Nature stamp set. This is, I reorganized everything so the lighting would be better, and now I can't find anything. This stamp set is a two box stamp set. It's one of two. You get all these beautiful images. If you have a Stampin' Up! Catalog, current catalog, it's on page 143. So you get a lot of images and some really big sentiments and some smaller sentiments. It comes with the Nature's Roots framelit dies. It doesn't come with those, but those are an option if you do any die cutting. And if you order it before June 4th, when the catalog retires, the new catalog begins June 4th, you get a 10% savings on the bundle. The bundle price goes away with the new catalog. So if you're interested in any of the things I show you today, keep that in mind. Alrighty. Like I said, I'm in a temporary setup here, so it's going to be a learning curve. You know how wonky my videos are anyway. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is take a piece of Whisper White, and I know it looks like Soft Seafoam. But we're going to brayer this to turn it into, that's part of the resist technique. So I've taken a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I believe this cardstock is 3 3/4 by 5.5. Yes, 3 3/4 by 5.5. It's going to layer right on top of our card front like this. So to get these beautiful foliage images that are on the card front, we're going to use Versamark ink. We're going to use some white embossing powder. And we're going to use a couple of stamps from the stamp set. And then I also need a piece of scrap paper because we're going to dump that embossing powder right on here. So I'm just going to do it right on the scrap paper. Okay. I didn't have coffee in a card last week because I was watching my grandchildren. We've had so much rain here in Kansas City, and their daycare had flooded, so it was closed to dry out. Oh, my dogs are going insane. You probably can't see it because this Versamark is clear, but I'm just randomly stamping this cute little leaf image. And then I'm going to also take in this, I'm calling it a branch. kind of tip the paper up for me to see what's going on. And I'm stamping on and off this piece of paper. It's all going to make sense when we cover it with the embossing powder. You'll be able to see. All right, I think maybe that's enough. So that's all the stamping we're going to do here with our Versamark. Now I'm going to take the white embossing powder and I am going to sprinkle, and I always say more is more. I just cover this thing. Now at this point you want to be careful you don't touch. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. And see in my seated position, a little bit there. Hey Letha, you can see where we've embossed those stamped images with the embossing powder, and as soon as we heat it up, you'll be able to see really well. But at this point you want to just be real careful not to rub off any of that. Now let's get this out of the way because we're going to do a little bit of gold embossing later. And I'm going to reuse the back side of this sheet so I don't get any gold embossing powder in my white. All right, I'm just going to kind of look at that, and I use a little paintbrush, and if I see that I've kind of gone, you know, my embossing powder hasn't come completely off in certain areas, I'll just kind of brush it off. But we're looking pretty good. So I'm going to heat this up. I apologize for the noise of the heat tool. I'm going to let this get a little warmer. And I hope you can kind of see the magic happening. I love heat embossing. Got it all. I wanted to see if you guys can you see the shiny part? You're going to see it here in just a minute. Well, let's let that set a minute before we use the brayer over it. And let's stamp our leaf images and our, I'm calling these branches. I don't know what else to call them. So I've just taken a little scrap of Whisper White again, and we're going to stamp the leaf images in our soft seafoam, and we need 3 of those. Make sure y'all can see this. There we go. I don't like sitting because I can't see what you're seeing. That's better. Okay, so I'm going to clean these off real quick. Get all that Versamark ink off of there. And we're going to stamp this image, the little leaves, and again I'm using the soft seafoam green. We're going to stamp it 3 times, and we're going to die cut these out, so I'm just stamping them on my little scrap of Whisper White. And now we're going to stamp. I just stuck my fingers right in the ink, so before I get all my white cardstock green. Now we're going to use the Call Me Clover. This is one of our in colors that's carrying over. All the products I'm using today are carrying over into the new catalog, so that makes me excited. So they are readily available. If you're interested in some of the retiring items, they're going fast. So, and I'm going to do this 4 times. I think I only used 3 on my card, but I like to always have a spare just in case I need some more. So what we're going to do now is cut these out with the coordinating framelits or the coordinating dies. These coordinate with the stamp set. There's images for the large tree, the leaves, the smaller trees. There's even a texture if you want to just cut out I should have done that so you have a sample. And then there's one for this fun little maple leaf, I guess. And then for the stamp that we're using today. So, and like I said, if you order these before June 4th, before they go into the new catalog, you would save 10% on the bundle. It's really a nice set to have. Okay, so we're going to die cut these out, and voila, through the magic of television, through the magic of Facebook Live, I have already cut them out. So you don't have to laboriously watch me. And then on this temporary table, it's not too steady. So I have cut, looks like I cut 5 of these and 3 of these. I wanted to be prepared. So I just cut those out with the die cut using my Big Shot die cutting machine. And now we're going to do, add some color to this background. And we're using the brayer for that. Let's set these aside so they don't get ink on them. And these little brayers are kind of nice because you can just wash the little foam out and reuse them. Comes with, I think a package comes with 2, I should check that out. 2 of the foam brushes and 2 handles. So that's kind of nice to have. 2 handles and 4 sponges. So yay. So you kind of get your money's worth on this. And it gives it a real soft look. You can make it as dark as you want. You can keep it just very light. For the sake of the camera and the filming, I'm making it a little darker just so it shows up better for y'all. But can you see how adding the color and then the embossed portions of the card are resisting, hence the name, Emboss Resist technique. Okay, I think that looks good. You can, if you want, just kind of take a tissue and wipe over those, but I think they resisted enough that they're just fine. I did not take a tissue on my sample, and it worked just fine. Okay, so now we're going to take our card base, and before we adhere it to our card base, we're going to wrap some linen thread around and tie it in a bow. Now my computer wants to update. Oh my goodness, that would be a nightmare. Okay, so I'm just going to take some linen thread and wrap around this embossed cardstock that we just brayered. I guess that's a verb. I brayered something. I think I'm going to need my tweezers. So anyway, I don't know if I was saying, I did not have coffee in a card last week because my grandchildren's daycare had flooded and they needed a day to, couple days to get it. We've just had so much rain to get it dried out and, you know, safe for the little ones. So I was doing grandma duty last week. It's just, and then we had our 3-day weekend. So I hope you all had an enjoyable, relaxing Memorial Day, celebrating the freedoms that we, the people who help keep our freedoms, who fought hard for us to enjoy this wonderful country that we have. Okay. There's my bow. And then I'm just going to adhere that to the front of the card and we're going to work from that. So I need my adhesive. And I'm going to adhere that right on the front. And I went monochromatic with this soft sea foam. So if my top layer isn't exactly 5.5, although it's pretty darn close, sometimes when you cut, it doesn't work out the way you like. It doesn't show as bad. I don't know if that makes sense. See how this one's just a little tiny bit off? Sometimes when you use your trimmer. But this one's perfect. Perfect 5.5 inches. Sometimes I get a little quick with my cutting. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, we've got all these die cuts that we've stamped and we've cut out. I'm going to turn my phone off, my phone volume, in case I get a text or a phone call there. Just thought of that. You guys don't need to be hearing that. Okay. This little tag is stamped, is punched out of a piece of scrap, Whisper White. And I'm using this punch. I should have wrote everything down because my mind today, I think I'm on vacation brain still. I can't remember what anything's called. Tailored tag. I think I used this in one of my more recent Facebook Lives. Okay, so I'm just gonna take, I probably have a better scrap than this, but I'm just gonna punch one of those out. And that's gonna be the base for our little tag. We're gonna tuck in all of our die cuts, but first of all, we're gonna emboss some gold on the tips of those leaves. And I do need to tell you all that I definitely copied this card. I did not come up with the whole process. If you're a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, you get these fun magazines once a quarter. We also get some fun little emails every week, but they come with lots of training, but lots of samples and ideas. Let me find the one. Mine's not exactly like the one in here, but I just loved the, I wanted to show you all the technique, and this one went really well with it. So here it is. They used a crumb cake card base, but I went with the monochromatic theme. So I didn't want to take credit for the design of this card. It was a Stampin' Up! Design artist, but I just thought it was beautiful and I wanted to show you the technique. Okay, so we're going to add the gold to the ends of these leaves, and I'll tell you what looks really good too with this technique is if you have a feather stamp. Oh my gosh, Make sure I've got the right side of my paper. I don't want gold going in my white. I don't want white going in my gold. Gold tinted feathers. I didn't get my embossing buddy out here, so I'm just going to kind of make sure these are good and not going to be staticky. And I'm just taking the ends of these leaves, the tips, and I'm just kind of running them through. I'm not doing this one as heavy as I did this one because I want to see what it looks like with a lighter hand. I went pretty heavy duty on that first one. So I'm just running it through this Versamark ink. And now I'm going to dump some gold embossing powder on that. Like I said, I just overdo with the embossing powder. So I didn't do them as heavy, but I think it'll be cute. Kind of just got the edges this time. And like I said, I blow on it, or here is, use a little paintbrush to get the embossing powder off the areas you don't want it to be on. This look, I don't think it would matter if it was just kind of all over the place, because it's just kind of an artistic look. Okay, so let's dump this back in here before I have a mess. All right, we should have probably did all that when we were embossing our other. Okay, let's heat this up a little bit again. Again, I apologize for the noise. Tell with the gold when it gets heated up and it's all embossed. It's just so magical. I love it. Whoops. Okay. So the only things you need to heat emboss, how we did our white flowers and our gold, you need an embossing powder, you need Versamark ink, and you need a heat tool. And that's the only thing you need to create this kind of magic. I love it. And see what I mean about how that looks so cute on the tip? Wouldn't that be cute on a feather? I should get out my feather stamp. Maybe I'll do some samples on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I post a lot over there. I'm trying to get into the Instagram stories, but yeah, I'm a little camera shy there. Okay, now this is how I do it, but you can do it any way you want. But this is how I do it. It's easier for me to just go ahead and put this down on my card front and then tuck everything else where I want it, than to adhere it down and try and get it where I want it to be. So this is just how I do it. It may be easier for you to do it a different way. I'm going to stick our little label here that we made. And I just put 2 little pieces of Stampin' Dimensionals on there. Can you hear my squeaky chair? It's really embarrassing. Like I said, when I usually do these Facebook Lives, I'm usually standing up. Okay, but this is really comfortable, so I may have to rethink everything. Now I'm just going to tuck these in where I want. So I'm going to put a little liquid glue, because that'll give me a second to adjust if I don't like where I got it. And I know that my Stampin' Dimensional is here and here, so I'm just gonna tuck them in there. Oh, that's so cute. And you can kind of, you know, curl them up to give it a little bit of a more of a 3D effect. You know? All right, and then this one we're gonna put right on the front of the tag. I think I'm gonna just stick it right here this time. Okay, so those are on. Now these little cute, whatever they're called, I think they're called leaf something, leaf trinkets. They're so adorable. These are in the annual catalog right now, and they are carrying over. So that makes me really happy, because I love these. And to hold these on my card so they don't fall off, I use mini glue dots. And probably 2 would be a good number. They're not going to show. And then once again, I'm just tucking that under my little tag. Now, what happened to my other little trinket? Oh, right in front of my face. Okay. See, I'm just putting a little glue dot right on that leaf. It won't show once we get it on the card, because it's clear. And then I'm gonna stick this one kind of right there. Make sure they're all down there. Okay, now I'm gonna add the little, what green did we use for this? Call Me Clover Green. This is one of our in colors that is carrying over. It's not a retiring in color. And I'm going to determine where I want those. And then I will adhere those. Looks like I only need 3. I made 5 of them, but I think we'll only use 3. So once again, I'm just going to use a little of the multi-purpose liquid glue. It's my go-to. And I'm just going to stick them under there where I like them. This card is all about layers and textures. A lot of layers and textures on this card. I normally don't. This is a card-worthy person has to, you have to give this to a card-worthy person. Oh, I'm teasing. I say when you dress a card up so nicely, will somebody really love and appreciate that card? Actually, this card, I'm going to make this one into a sympathy card using another sentiment from the stamp set, because I do need to send a sympathy card out. One of our little neighbors, his wife has passed away, so okay, now we're going to add a sentiment, and like I said, for this one I'm using a different sentiment. On the first one I used the Be Strong, Be Happy, Be You. So this card could be for any occasion, really. A note card, so I left the inside blank just to write a little note to someone on that one. Could be an encouragement card. But for this one, I needed a sympathy card, so I'm going to use the words are never enough sentiment. And there's a to thank you for all you do. I like these big, you are wonderful and thinking of you. Those are nice big ones for card fronts. So I'm going to use a scrap of crumb cake cardstock and Memento ink. It's my favorite black ink at this point. Right now, this is my favorite black ink. I'm always open to. Thank you, Letha. I saw that in the catalog and I just love that, or in the magazine. Whoops, I got too crazy. We're gonna just cut it out anyway, so it doesn't matter where on the paper I stamp. See how we took this one? I took this sentiment, which is one stamp. It is one stamp, and I cut it apart. The concept artist, Stampin' Up concept artist, did that, and I copied her idea or his idea, and I cut it apart. I thought that was cute. So I'm going to do the same thing on this one. And the only difference on this one is not going to have that black background, but I think it'll work. I'm just cutting it, and I'm going to cut the words apart and kind of stack them like I did on this one. See how we stacked them? I suppose we could do a black, but I'm not going to do that. I think this will be fine. We could back these with a little black cardstock. Now I'm going to obsess over these not being straight. There we go. Okay. So what I need to decide is I'm going to do words up top, and then are never, and then enough. Don't you think that's a nice sympathy card? And then I put these on with the mini dimensionals, and they fit perfectly now. Since I cut these down smaller, this is what I might do. We've got all this on the end. Use it. Use every inch of these dimensional sheets, even when they pop everywhere. This is when I get wonky because my fingers are so big. I might use my tweezers. So I'm going to put this right here. And then we're going to take another little piece of that we trimmed on the and I'm going to put it right here. Scooch it over a little bit. And can't get straight over the card, but it looks straight. Is it straight? Well, my adhesive isn't straight. There we go. Where we press it down forever. And then our final little enough. Again, I'm just trimming a little off the edge of this sheet of dimensionals. And then this one I'm going to just kind of go over here. Try and get it straight. So cute. Okay. Now, then I took just some iridescent sequins. And I'm going to use my U-pick tool, and I'm going to just put a little dab of glue, a little dab or a little dab, just in several little places. And then pick up some of these. I'll probably need I need 2 tools for this. I use my little U-pick tool and then either my tweezers or my paper piercer just to kind of hold it down, and that glue will really dry well once it dries. They should be good to go. I mean, I wouldn't throw it in a wrestling ring or anything, but that multi-purpose liquid glue, I love it. Okay. Let's see if we can get another green or a blue. Here's a green one. Okay, and one more. How about this little blue one? This little sticky thing, I don't know what it is. It's like a little piece of putty, but it picks up these tiny little things. It works great. Now I can't find the lid to it. We'll find it later. We'll find it later. Okay. I hope that's carrying forward. Let me look in the new catalog. Tomorrow's the last day of May, right? Or is there 31 days? 30 days past September, April, May. Okay. Oh, I'm not supposed to show you the inside of it. This is the new catalog. June 4th is the new catalog, and I'm not supposed to show you the inside till June 4th. But if you need a catalog, you contact me and I will get you one. Let's see here. If you have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, you get it from her, but if you don't, I would be happy to send one to you. So just, yes, take your pick tool. The take your pick tool is carrying over. So yay, it has several different tips. There's a paper piercer. Well, it has to be locked in place. A little scoop, which you can see I've used a lot. This works good to pick up pieces that you want to get rid of. And it has the, whatever that stuff is, gummy stuff. Here's the lid. And I use it the most, just to help me with those little things. So anyway, tool of the day is the pick tool. Okay, there they are. There's the cards. I just love it. So we did heat emboss, we did resist emboss when we brayered over the white embossed portions, and we did kind of a fun little I don't know what you would call that. It's heat embossing, but when we drug our leaves through the through the Versamark. I kind of like to bend them up and make them look a little. Now I was thinking to mail this card. I'm going to probably put this card on a platter of cookies or something to take to our neighbor, but you would want to make sure you had maybe a padded envelope, or sometimes I'll put a piece of cardstock over it like this before I put it in the envelope, and that keeps cards like this you know, from getting damaged in the mail. It's going to be over probably thicker than 1/4 of an inch, or for a regular stamp, so you're probably going to need to pay extra. But you know what? Aren't people worth it? I mean, this is a gift in itself. It's just art, really. Wouldn't that be lovely framed in a 4x6 frame? So there's an idea for you as well. Anyway, don't ever hesitate to pay extra postage. I mean, the person you're sending to is card worthy, right? So, gosh, brighten someone's day. Don't you love getting fun mail? And we sure don't get enough of it. So thanks for joining me. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week, and we'll talk to you next time on Coffee and a Card. Bye-bye.